Hi, my name is Schnedl. I guess I had a typical childhood, um, you know, middle class family, mom and dad together. Moved to California when I was 7, 8 years old. So that's where most of my memory of growing up is. I grew up in a nominally Catholic, Roman Catholic home. So that was my, I guess you'd say, my spiritual background. I have an older sister and a younger brother. Yeah. And my sister's a believer. My brother is not, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, my parents were practicing more earlier on in our lives. And then as we got older, they dropped off from the practice of their faith. They still had some personal faith, I would say, even though they weren't active in the Catholic Church necessarily. So, I mean, I remember mom and dad leading like Advent devotions, and I really enjoyed that. But that's the main memory. Well, they sent us to CCD, the Catholic version of Sunday school. But I can't say I got much out of that. I was probably a very typical human being, just self-absorbed in my own teenage sort of way, and not thinking outside of myself necessarily. That, I mean, just wasn't on my radar. I came to the Lord, or He apprehended me, really, more accurately, when I was 14 years old. And I was invited to some large evangelical gospel event by a friend, and where I heard the gospel. And that's where I was saved. It really comes down to that. And I don't even remember how I met that friend, but I am so grateful that they were obedient in bringing me to that, because that's where I learned about my sin and how I'm separated from the Lord, and that the solution was to exchange my sin for the blood of Jesus Christ. It's really that simple. It's not complicated. And I remember, even years later, almost questioning that and being reassured that no, it really is just that simple. You believe the truth about who you are, that a sinner separated from God, and that the only thing that can bridge that is Jesus Christ. The gospel was presented, and because of the Lord, I responded, not because of me. I want to make that clear. I mean, I was a 14-year-old girl with a skull full of mush. And I mean, I think this has what, I mean, in technical terms, we call the doctrine of election all over it. And that's just the simple truth that it's the Lord who determines who will be saved. And I don't know why He decided to include me in this, but He did. And I mean, I wanted to stress this because it's not about me. And I have no power none of us have any power to help or save ourselves. We don't even have the power to choose this on our own. And I mean, that's why it's the Lord who does this. He chooses and He does it, and He gives you the power and the will to believe and to say yes. And that's what He did. And I am grateful. And I mean, my mother saw the change also. I mean, a year later, or a year or so, she gave me a Bible for my 15th birthday. And I think it's because she'd seen the change. There was something different. My focus, my interests were different. So I'm convinced that the Lord himself gave me two prayers. And one is that I want to know the truth and I want to be prepared. And I didn't even know about what. And I also am convinced that he gave me the desire to become a midwife. And I wanted to be a midwife probably since I was around 12 or so. I mean, even before I got saved. And I planned to become a nurse as, part of that process to become a midwife. And, since being saved, I've seen the Lord answering those prayers throughout my entire life. And, wanting to know the truth. Well, he is the truth. And there isn't a scintilla of truth in this universe that doesn't come straight from Jesus Christ. I remember my mother saying once, we were talking about this, and this was after I'd become a believer, but that she said her relationship was with the church and not necessarily with the Lord specifically or personally. And I found that sad. Because we don't have a relationship with an institution. Not even as believers. We have a relationship with a person who is very much alive. And it's relational. The Lord has been very kind and gentle with me in teaching me about himself and about me and who I am. I've seen his hand leading me throughout life to introduce me and to teach me these various things through his word, through his body, and through relationships, and which is how he operates anyway. I mean, he's a relational God, and he made it possible for us to have a relationship with him and for eternity, which is just wild. So early on, I learned of Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And, early on, it was wrongly, about personal empowerment because I didn't understand context. But now, understanding context and knowing the word better and what it means and where that verse is in that passage, and about how that's about learning to be content. And the Lord has been teaching me that. And regardless of my circumstances, whether I've got a lot or a little or this or that or whatever it may be, I'm content because I have him and he is enough. I've adopted what Dave Ramsey says, about, people ask, how are you? Well, better than I deserve. Well, it's true. I am better than I deserve. Even if I'm in a ditch, I'm better than I deserve. I should be going to hell, but I'm not. I am better than I deserve. This is reality. This is true.